On this edition of Panther Sports Talk right here on WIU, we preview the Jacksonville State game. We recap the Murray State game. We also talk with EIU record-setting receiver Erik Lora. All that and much more coming up on Panther Sports Talk right here on WIU.
Production for Panther Sports Talk is brought to you in part by Johnson's Automotive Service is a proud supporter of Panther Sports on WEIU. Johnson's is a complete car facility for all your automotive repair and maintenance needs. Johnson's Automotive Service, keeping your life running.
Welcome to another edition of Panther Sports Talk right here on WIU. I'm your host, Rich Moser, joined every week by EIU head football coach Dino Babers. And Coach, we're going to recap the game against Murray State, preview the game against Jacksonville State. Later on in the program, we'll have Erik Lora. He talks about kind of his, climb up the history list. And it only becomes a history list, not so much because he moves up it, but he passed a name who's a household name in football. And a lot of times when you pass people on lists, it's a guy that people may not know about nationwide, but if you say the name Jerry Rice, there's not a person that has watched football that doesn't know that name.
You know, Jerry Rice, and for him to be able to, tell his kids and everyone else that he has a record that, that he went past Jerry Rice is a great thing. It's really a blessing. Now,
you guys approached it a little bit different the other day against Murray State, and I don't know if part of that was by design. We talked after the game there that their kind of approach defensively was to kind of try to take away the long ball and the quick strike home run, which you guys have been able to get against other teams. And that really, opened up kind of the middle passing game, I guess you would call it.
It really did. What they tried to do is take away all the deep balls from us and then make us work underneath. And, of course, now it comes down to execution. I believe Jimmy threw around 70%. I might be wrong, but I thought he threw for a high percentage. And then that allows you to run the football. We ran for over 300 yards. We haven't done that since 2007 here at Eastern Illinois, and that was against Tennessee State. 2006, we also did it against Murray State. But you just can't say enough. In games like this, and defenses are going to have that type of strategy, you just can't say enough about the offensive line. So I want to give a shout out to the offensive line, Nick Borey, Alex Pierce, Colin Siebert, Jimmy Lowry, our young guy, and then our giant anchor, Dom. So shout out to the O-line. They did a fabulous job. Not only are those guys great pass protectors for Jimmy Garoppolo, but they can also drop the blade and run the football on football teams. So there's your shout out, O-line.
Now you guys finished with 600 yards of total offense, or a little over 600 yards, and it was as balanced as you probably could have wanted when it was all said and done. You rushed for over 300. Jimmy threw for 299, and 299 for most people is a great day, but for him it's his lowest total he's had this year. But he did it within the flow of the game, and I'm sure the number isn't the most important. It's kind of how he was able to march the team down the field and kind of pick his opportunities to throw the ball.
Yeah, Anthony in the school paper gave him a B+. Anthony, I'm looking for you. It was a great game by Jimmy Garoppolo. The way he managed the game, the way he stayed with himself and didn't try and took what the defense gave him and didn't try to force his will on the defense. I thought he did a fabulous job of handling the offense. Chris Hatcher in Murray State was playing a slow-down offensive style on their side of the ball. In doing that, they're waiting for us to make a mistake, and so they can keep the score close. We scored 3 out of 4 possessions in the first half. We did miss a field goal. That was our one miscue. But by scoring 21 points in the first half and our defense putting up a goose egg, okay, and then coming out in the second half getting a stop and the offense going down and scoring again. I believe the score was 30-0 before Murray State had an opportunity to score. It basically had put the game out of reach. So when another offense is trying to do that to keep our offense off the field, it's not so much how many plays we run and how fast we go. It's, are we going to be efficient enough to chase them out of this style of play? And that's what we were. It was 30 points for us, 0 for them. They had to get out of it and start playing faster. They had some success. We had some turnovers in the third and fourth quarter, but I couldn't have been more proud of our football team, the maturity about how they went about their work.
Now, the other thing that Jimmy did that I think kind of got lost in the stat line is he probably could have easily been over 300 yards. There were several opportunities there where he could have tried to force a ball, and it gets maybe in a different game, different situations. Maybe he tries to do that, but kind of like you said, use the word maturity there. Pulled the ball down, and I think he ended up rushing for about 30 to 40 yards, which for him, that's not really in his game. And the one that kind of I think surprised a lot of people is it looked like a design call for him. The first touchdown of the game, he rolls out and scores from 12 yards out on a quarterback keeper.
Yeah, he looked like Randall Cunningham. Now, those guys are going to probably have to Google who that is. But he pulled the ball out. He did a great job on that. I think it was, like you said, a 10 to 12-yard run in the end zone. First touchdown, Jimmy Garoppolo on the ground. I mean, could you see the skates? Could you see the wheels? It was all there. No, I was really excited for him. I just thought that if Chris Hatcher, I don't want to go personal, but if football teams and programs think that Jimmy Garoppolo is not mature enough to play within himself and just operate the offense, they're terribly mistaken. This is not a guy with an undergraduate degree. This is a guy with a master's degree. He knows what's going on. He's going to handle this football team. He's going to put us in the best situation to win.
Now, on the other side of the ball, the defensive line once again did a great job of creating pressure, and guys came away with 3 turnovers during the course of the game. A couple other opportunities where I'm sure that you guys went back and looked at the film, especially on the defensive side, probably 3 or 4 other opportunities to get interceptions that balls were batted down, and I guess sometimes that's why you say those guys are playing defense instead of wide receivers.
Well, I never say that. You say that. But I thought the defense did a great job. Pat Wirtz, John Vortilla, Dino, the whole front line, Delphons, Granger, and then you talk about our linebackers were so active, really so active. Kamu got a sack, but he was offsides by 6 inches. He'll get that corrected. I thought that the secondary put their hands on a lot of balls. We had some opportunities to catch some interceptions. We didn't, but they were breaking on the football. They were active, and without those turnovers, the games might have gone a different way because we did have 2 turnovers on offense. So, I mean, what can you say about our defense? 30-0, halfway through the third quarter before the other football team even has an opportunity to put a score up on the board. They've been playing great this last month, and we're really going to need them on Saturday versus Jacksonville State.
Now, one of the things they were also able to do is create pressure and stop the run, and I think that kind of looked like played hand in hand to it. It looked like Coach McLeod was bringing an occasional blitz here, but a lot of times it was a blitz to try to maybe just clog some things up in the backfield to either not necessarily get a sack, but apply pressure or change maybe what they were trying to do for their angles, because they have 2 pretty talented running backs, and you guys were able to really stuff them.
They did. The key is you have to be able to run the football when you want to and stop the run when they want to run. And if you can do those 2 things in the game of football, you've got a chance. And Coach McLeod, the defensive staff, did a great job. Those guys were playing with their hair on fire. And, it's interesting to watch where our defense has come. First, when people said we had no defense, and then the defense is bad because of what the offense does. There's no way you can have a good defense with that style of offense. And now everybody's sitting here and going, wow, our defense is really good. Our defense has always been good. It's been getting better and better and better, and it will continue to get better. And we need them to keep coming if we're going to have an opportunity to achieve all the goals that we want for this season.
Now, the reason I kind of went in the defense there and stopping the run, that's going to be catamount this weekend. Jacksonville State kind of hangs their hat. A new coach this year, Bill Clark, but he still has kind of taken some of those same principles that Jack Crow had, that we're going to line up, we're going to try to pound it at you and play kind of a pro style where we want to run, and then kind of sucker you in, and then maybe be able to get some big plays kind of on that play action. So very important that the defense is able to kind of control the run there against Jacksonville State this week.
Coach Clark and Jacksonville State loves to run the football, and it's going to be a physical game. If you want to see what old-fashioned football looks like, come to the game on Saturday. This thing is going to be physical. There's going to be bloodshed, and you can't get around it. They're going to try to run, and we need to stop them. And then we're going to run when we want to, and they need to stop us, and it's going to be a physical contest.
Now, I'm looking at their situations and their depth chart. This year they've played 3 quarterbacks. All 3 seem to have played in different situations against different teams for different amount of times. Eli Jenkins came in last week, ended up being the player of the week for the league, and looks to be more of a running type of threat, whereas Max Shortle, who started, and then Kyle West are more hand the ball off, passing type guys. Does that, I guess, since they all three are probably going to have an opportunity to get out there, does that, I guess, make it a little bit more difficult for the defense to kind of prep, or is it the same game plan and then we'll make minor adjustments depending on who's back there behind center?
Well, I think it may be a little bit more difficult to prep for them. There's no doubt when you're defending 3 quarterbacks. Last week we had to defend 2 quarterbacks at Murray State. But I'm old school. I still believe if you got 3 quarterbacks, that means you don't have one. So if you're asking me whether I'd rather face those 3 guys or face Jimmy Garoppolo, I'd rather face those 3 guys.
Now, last year, I know one of the things you said, we talked about teams you played during the course of the year and how they matched up. One of the teams that on paper you thought was going to give you a little bit of trouble in the secondary was Jacksonville State, based on some of the systems that they had under that defensive staff and kind of Jack Crow's philosophy. Have you guys seen that that's changed a little bit with a new defensive staff? I know a lot of the personnel is still the same, but I know a lot of times when coaching staffs flip over, a lot of times they try to tweak what they were doing. So have you seen some different things on film or still kind of the same basic philosophy?
Great question, Rich. They really keep the same philosophy. What I'll tell you is I think Jacksonville State has some of the best athletes in the conference. These guys are athletic. They're from Alabama, Auburn. I think they have 40 transfers on their team or something like that, the most transfers in the OVC. These guys are athletic, and they like to get up in your face. They play press man-to-man, and they also have a coverage which we call 2-man, where they'll have 2 half-field players. The 5 guys underneath, they'll play trail man-to-man on a wide receiver's hip, and they'll 4-man rush it and 3-man rush it, and the receivers have to get open. This is what we teach our receivers from day one. This is what they have to go against. This is the reason why they have a tool belt. This is the reason why they have releases. Out, in, out, in out, out, in. Press releases, speed turns, sit downs, double stock moves. Their whole tool belt has to be used to get open versus the defenses that these guys use. Last year, we only had a half a year in those techniques. I expect the wide receivers to get open, and I expect them to use their tool belt to get open, and I think it'll be the greatest test, and I know they're looking forward to it.
Now, one of the other things that Jacksonville State seems to do is they seem to line up more in like a 3-4 personnel, which a lot of times gives you an opportunity maybe to develop some of those short runs. Still same philosophy up there, I'm guessing, with them, and does that maybe help the offensive line when you're trying to at least establish the run early on?
A 3-4 defense, if they're playing a too high safety, then of course you want to run the ball into that. If they're playing a 3-4 defense and they're being single and they're bringing Sam and Will, Mike and Quick from the inside and the outside, you want to get technical, then that's more of a throw defense. So it really depends on what style they want to play out of the 30 front or the 40 front.
Now, the other thing that's going to happen on Saturday, Senior Day, you guys got 17 guys that are going to march out there. They've been with you now for 2 years. I guess you've been coaching football for a long time. Senior Day always seems to be a special day. But for these guys, a little bit different. The season isn't over after this day, where sometimes the Senior Day is the last time you play college football. So I guess how do you keep those guys still focused and in check, knowing that, in theory, there's a lot of football still left to be played?
Still a lot of football left to be played, but they understand what Senior Day means. This is the last time, technically, that they know for sure that they're going to get an opportunity to play on O'Brien Field, and it's going to be an emotional moment. They're going to be out there with mom and dad, and before the game, and mom and dad will be on the field for the very first time, and they've never been on the field before with their son, with everybody cheering, with the student body, and everybody out there, and it's a big deal. I can still remember my Senior Day. So it's not the last game of the season, but it'll still be an emotional day.
Now, the other thing for us to touch on is they were here last week when we did the show, and we didn't talk about them. We didn't want to kind of draw any extra attention. ESPNU was here last week, did an all-access behind the scenes. You and I have both been able to preview the show, and Katie Cook, who helps us, and Ramin, who helps us do the show, they both make a cameo appearance in it, so kind of spoiler there for them. It'll air on Wednesday, but I guess talk about that experience and what it does for the program moving forward. You really can't buy that type of exposure.
Well, first of all, where else has ESPNU been this year? They've been at Oklahoma, they've been at Baylor, they've been at Fresno State, they've been at Northern Illinois University. They've been at some of the top programs in the nation. We are the only FCS school that they have come to visit so far. To have that kind of media exposure, not only for our football team, but for our university, I think is unbelievable. And those guys followed us around, and they had us mic'd up and did special interviews with the football players, and they came out to practice and filmed our practices. And I mean, it's like the Hard Knocks show and everything else. This is big time. And I thought our football team handled it very well. I thought their maturity, the way they went about their work, we've got some clowns, there's no doubt about it. They get in front of the cameras, they like to have a good time, and I'm okay with that. But when it was time to work, they worked. And you've already seen the show. I've already seen the show. I thought it was done in great taste.
Also, a reminder tonight, since this is going to be Wednesday when this airs, men's basketball over at Lance Arena at 7 o'clock, the home opener for Jay Spoonhour and his crew. Panthers football team will be back in action this weekend. 12 o'clock will be the game. It'll be on ESPN3, but you can hear the broadcast on the Panther Football Radio Network. 11:30 will be the pregame show. Mike Brad, and I think Dave Kidwell is going to do color. We've got people spread all over the place right now, Coach. I know you guys are busy, but there are things happening all over this campus, so an exciting time to be at EIU, an exciting time to be in Charleston. So hopefully everybody will come out and watch the Panthers in action for Senior Day. Once again, 12 o'clock against Jacksonville State. We'll be right back with This Week in EIU Athletics, and then we'll follow it up with an interview with senior wide receiver Erik Lora. And then the program will wrap up at the end of the show with some highlights from the Murray State game. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Great time to be a Panther.
Akers cutting through. He's 2-on-1. Ahead to Blanford. A dunk. There's a good way to break about an 8-minute scoring drought.
Eastern Illinois Panther basketball is on WEIU. It's the home opener for the EIU men at Lance Arena. The Panthers will battle the Tigers of Olivet Nazarene. It's the Panthers and Tigers Wednesday at 9 on WEIU, your home for Panther basketball. Panther fans, here's what's going on in Panther athletics. The number 2 ranked Panther football team improved to 9-1 and 6-0 in the OVC with a 37-17 win at Murray State. The Panthers clinch a share of the OVC title. Volleyball with 2 wins at Lance Arena over OVC rivals Jacksonville State and Tennessee Tech. The Panthers are now 17-10 overall and 11-3 in the OVC. Women's soccer wrapped up their season as they lost in the first round of the OVC tournament 2-1 to SIU Edwardsville. The Panthers finished the season 6-14 overall. Men's soccer wrapped up their season as they lost their regular season finale to Bradley 1-0. They finished the season 1-14-2 overall and 1-4-1 in Summit League play. Men's basketball loses their season opener at Northwestern 72-55. Women's basketball also lost their season opener 81-46 at Evansville. Men's and women's swimming was at Padovan Pool this past weekend and they lost their meet to Evansville. The men lost 126-79. They're now 0-5 on the season. And the women's team lost 130-75. They're now 1-5 on the season. Now here's what to watch for this week. Tonight, Wednesday, November 13th, men's basketball with their home opener at Lance Arena against Olivet Nazarene at 7 o'clock. You can listen to the game live on Hitmix 88.9 WEIU, or you can watch the tape delay version on WEIU TV at 9 o'clock. On Friday, cross country is at the NCAA Regionals in Ames, Iowa at 12 o'clock. And women's basketball is in St. Louis to take on the Billikens at 7 o'clock. You can listen to that game on Hitmix 88.9 WEIU. On Saturday, Panther football is at O'Brien Field to take on OVC rival Jacksonville State at 12 o'clock. You can listen to the game on Hitmix 88.9 WEIU, or you can watch it online at ESPN3. Volleyball with an OVC road match in Nashville, Tennessee at Belmont at 2 o'clock. And men's basketball travels to the Windy City to take on Illinois Chicago at 3 o'clock. You can listen to that game on Hitmix 88.9 WEIU. Next Wednesday, November 20th, men's basketball is at Purdue at 6 o'clock. You can listen to that game on Hitmix 88.9 WEIU, or you can watch it online at the Big Ten Digital Network. For Panther Sports Talk, I'm Ramin Karbasioun.
Kicks the crump. Open, right wing 3. Nothing but 12 from behind the line.
Eastern Illinois Panther basketball is on WEIU. The EIU women continue their non-conference schedule as Sabi Orosova and Jordan Crunk lead the Panthers against in-state rival Loyola Chicago. It's the Panthers and Ramblers November 21st at 9 on WEIU, your home for Panther basketball.
Welcome back to a live edition of Panther Sports Talk down here in Murray. Erik Lora, another big day out there, and I'm going to throw out one name at you that we talked about all along. Jerry Rice, You passed him today. I know you probably grew up with seeing posters of him, idolizing him. Definitely. Your name is now above him in the all-time FC annals. It's probably not going to sink in for a while, but how does it sink in right now that you passed him today?
It's just an honor being in that same sentence with the best receiver ever. Then that's debatable, but I see him as the best receiver ever, and he did some great things in the FCS level, and it's just an honor to be put in the same sentence.
Now another 10 catches today, so another day we're double figures, 6 yards short of getting to 100. I know that's you're chasing kind of the OVC career receiving yards record. That's about the only one you don't seem to have right now.
We came out here, we did some good things in the first half. We had a little trouble. It's just a typical day for Eastern. We tried to do what we could, and I'm an intricate part of the offense, so my role plays itself out.
Now, one of the stats that we told Coach Babers about and we told Shep Little about it, he kind of laughed a little bit. You guys outrushed the passing game today, and I guess part of that is based on the fact that was there today. I mean, they kind of try to take away the long ball, and this offense is multidimensional. I don't think a lot of people know that.
Yeah, it really is, and you know what, the Hogs up front, and they did a great job today, and they were throwing some looks at us that we hadn't seen on film, and they have a new D coordinator, so they game planned as much as they could for us, and the Hogs and Shep and Taylor Duncan and even Jimmy Lora at the end, they did a great job getting yards, getting upfield, and getting first downs, keeping tempo hot.
Now, one of the records you did break today, when you caught that touchdown pass, you set the OVC single-season record for touchdown passes. Last week you had tied it with Quentin Sims, and now you stand alone for career touchdown passes. You passed Chris Wright, who's a former teammate of yours, and also the guy who you're chasing, C.J. Johnson from Tennessee State. So now that record's yours. I guess that's your job, is to catch balls and score touchdowns.
No doubt. I pretty much catch everything what Jimmy throws, and that's my job. Not much else to be said. I just go out there and give my all.
Now, one of the things that you guys adjusted a little bit today is Keandre Gober was out today, had a hand injury. Don't know, maybe back next week, maybe a couple weeks. I guess, how did you guys make adjustments there? Since you're kind of the captain of the receivers out there, you had to kind of help Anthony Taylor along. I thought he had a good game today.
No doubt. Anthony Taylor, the way we do it in practice, everyone gets reps, everyone knows what they're doing, and AT did a great job filling in for Keandre. He had a couple great catches, key first downs, and he kept the tempo hot, and that's really what it is. It's the next person up, and we got to just keep rolling.
Now, you guys were featured, you, Jimmy, Alex, as part of this ESPNU thing. We had you guys on campus the other day. That's going to debut this week. I'm sure you're looking forward to see that. Kind of your thoughts on a shout out for that.
Thank you, ESPN, for coming and visiting us. Me, Alex, and Jim, we gave a little tour of Eastern, and we showed them, and they came to practice and stuff, and it was just a great environment for them to come out, and people were flying around in practice.
Final thoughts here from you. Senior day next week. You guys are going to be at home. We're hoping for the playoffs unless something happens in these last two games, but your thoughts on this is the time where you guys get to walk out there for the last time. Last time you're going to play a regular season game. Kind of, has it even sunk in yet, or will that kind of hit you this week as you go back?
Yeah, it hasn't really sunk in. I'm just trying to enjoy this win right now. But, we're going to go out. It's going to be a great environment. Parents are going to be out there. Fans are going to be out there. So we're definitely going to put on a show for them.
All right, well, hopefully your parents will bring up some of that warm weather from Miami for us. 12 o'clock, that game will be on ESPN3. The Panthers improved to 9-1, a 37-17 victory over Murray State down here. That's going to wrap up this edition of Panther Sports Talk. We're going to roll out this week with some of the highlights from this week's game. Thanks, Erik, for joining us. We'll be right back. We'll watch you next week right here on WIU.
Roy Stewart Stadium in Murray, Kentucky for Ohio Valley Conference football. The Eastern Illinois Panthers set to take on the Racers of Murray State. Eastern ranked number 2 in the nation this week, 8-1 overall, 5-0 in the OVC. Lora wide to the right with Taylor. Drake wide to the left. Handoff, a keeper by Garoppolo, right end at the 10, angles right at the 5. He'll run it in. Touchdown, Eastern Illinois. Jimmy Garoppolo scores his second touchdown this year. 4th and 1, Murray going for it. Handoff to Barry, left side. He didn't make it. Eastern stoned him at the line of scrimmage. Garoppolo in an empty backfield. Back to pass, setting up a screen over the middle. Caught by Lora, 25. Gets to the 20, 15, to the 10. Pulled down at the 5. Erik Lora with the 300th catch of his career. 7th player in FCS history to do that. 1st and goal, give to Duncan. Big hole, touchdown up the middle. He started left and then saw a huge hole back to his right. Frazier on the shotgun call, 4th down and a foot to go. They're going to give it to Barry, and he is stoned at the 4-yard line. And the Panthers have held again on 4th down. There were lots of white shirts pouring through. Here's Garoppolo in the gun. He's back to pass, looking, fires middle. Lora's wide open, touchdown EIU. Lora lined up in the backfield, slipped out around the left end, and was wide open at the goal line for the touchdown. That sets an OVC record, his 33rd career touchdown catch. He fumbled the ball in the end zone. It's free. Panthers have it. A touchdown for Eastern Illinois. I think it's still loose. Wait a minute. It's loose in the end zone. It's a safety. Murray recovered it, but it's a safety. Nick Borey to snap it on 1st and goal at the 5. They're going to give it up the middle. Little, nice hole. He's in for the touchdown. Good opening over right guard. Shepard Little slipped through on a 5-yard touchdown run. 3rd and goal. There's the snap. He stumbles over his own man, but maintains his footing, throwing the wide receiver screen, and it's batted down by Panther. Incomplete. Almost had an interception. Here's Garoppolo on 1st down. Gives to Little. Good hole up the middle. Angles left 50. Shepard to the 45, 40. In a foot race 30. Shepard Little down the left sideline 20 to the 10 to the 5. Dives end zone. Touchdown Eastern Illinois. Shepard Little broke it through at the line and then raced down the left sideline for a 60-yard touchdown run.
Production for Panther Sports Talk is brought to you in part by Johnson's Automotive Service is a proud supporter of Panther Sports on WEIU. Johnson's is a complete car facility for all your automotive repair and maintenance needs. Johnson's Automotive Service, keeping your life running.